Greetings from the right coast. This is Mad Shat. Got another story for you. This is about a story. This is a story about Steve. Steve was a pest control operator that went to this guy's house, very well-off individual in a nice neighborhood, and Steve was as pest control operators would do, would talk to the homeowner. Say the homeowner's name is Bob. Well, no, not Bob, because Bob was somebody. Let's say Bob. I'm making up names here. So Bob told Steve, well, first and foremost, the house is amazing. It's a huge 3-story house. It's massive. You could tell it's like a $400,000 house, and it's got a huge freaking pool area with sheds, and it's all fenced in yard, and it's in one of those like big mansion kind of communities where the big people where the big homes are, and it's lots of money. And the guy's got a boat, and he's got 2 trucks and a car. He's all by himself. He's all by himself in this huge mansion of a home. But Bob was not happy. Bob was suffering greatly. And so Steve, is talking to the homeowner and finds out that Bob had a son, had a wife and son. And the neighborhood used to be bustling with kids, and it was a nice neighborhood. And across the street, there was another gentleman. We're going to call him Marty. I don't know, Marty. Yeah, Marty. Marty had a big old house, lived by himself, had a huge yard, had a pool. He would put out kiddie pools in the front yard, and they would have like a little kiddie pool party. He always had snacks and treats and popsicles, and he helped build bike ramps for the kids and all this stuff, And Marty was an older gentleman, nice with everybody. Hey, how you doing, neighbor? All right, yeah, it's a beautiful day. Hey, tell your kids to come on by and I'll give them a popsicle. And hey, we're gonna have a pool party. All the kids are invited. Da 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 da. One day, Bob's son, who was about 10 or 11 years old, didn't come home. The whole neighborhood got together, and what you do, you make phone calls. Hey, so and so over there? No, haven't seen him all day. My son and the other kids got on their bikes and they're riding around the neighborhood. Maybe he's with them. Yeah, okay. I'll drive around and look. So, Bob is looking for his son. Nowhere to be found. He's going house to house, neighbor to neighbor. He goes across the street, to Marty's house, and knocks on the door. No answer. Goes around the back. Hey neighbor, you in the back pool there? You in your pool there? What's going on? Hey, no answer. They had the garages with the windows, and he looks in the garage, and the garage didn't have. It had one little spot for a car, and Marty was kind of known as a little pack rat. There were boxes all packed up into this thing, and Marty, he wasn't there. Bob looked in the window, and he's looking in there, and hey, maybe he's in there working on something, or whatever, tinkering on his. Sometimes Marty would be in there late at night working. You could hear him banging on something, or power tool going. I'm like, okay, the guy makes some stuff. But he looks in there, and through a faint light, in between the boxes, he sees a portion of a shoe sticking out. That shoe he recognized as his son's shoe. He bangs on the door. He bangs on it. He can't get it open. He's banging on the door. He's yelling. He's hey. You know, he's calling out his son's name. No answer. And so he calls the cops. Cops get there. They do their whole spiel, and they're running around the house, knocking on the doors and flashing their lights in the windows. And they see the foot. They see the shoe, the partial shoe they see sticking out from the corner. And so finally they said, okay, that's it, we're going in. And they went in. They opened up the garage with a very interesting way. They put something over the top and through the top and opened it up. It's pretty cool. It's like a Slim Jack for garage doors. But they went in there and they found the son dead. Not only was he dead, but he was raped. He was bound and gagged and raped and dead. Marty was nowhere to be found. Marty was gone. There were a few things in his house, but what they did find shocked them. Marty was a pedophile. Marty was a very vile individual. Bob lost it. He lost it. He crashed right there. Fell down. He had to be taken to the hospital, and Bob was a retired Army guy. He wasn't in war or anything. He did admin stuff, but he was well to do. He got a business and everything, and had a wife and kid. And when Bob went into his little breakdown, and he came back home, he was obsessed with finding out about Marty, as one would do when someone murders your child, and worse. In that manner, in this area, that's a very shocking thing, but it doesn't get a lot of press because this is a tourist community, and it's gotta keep up the appearances. Nothing happens here. It's a great place. Come on in, spend your money, buy homes. It's a great place to live. So, Marty's nowhere to be found. The police are no help. They just do their thing. Like, we're doing the best we can. The FBI, Bob goes through all the channels and tries to find out what the hell he can do. Finally, he gets in touch with the FBI because they're on the scene, taking care of everything, and they're part of the investigation because this is heinous. And they tell Bob that Marty has been doing this for quite some time, that he is a serial pedophile, rapist, murderer. And that's what he does. That's his modus operandi. He moves into an area. He sneaks right into an area under an alias. He amasses great wealth by doing cons and things of that nature. He had a lot of stuff in his garage. All those boxes were people's information and files and stuff. And he would go through a lot of things. He would take things from folks and sell it. And he was just, that's how he did his thing. He was also a drug addict. He liked the heroin. He liked the meth. And that was also part of his thing. The kids, the little boys. So they told Bob to just chill, relax. We got him. he does this, and then of course Bob was like, well, how many? Well, the FBI was like, well, we've been tracking him ever since 5 states over. Like he's done this 5 fucking times, so you can't catch him. Yeah, Bob was not happy. So Bob immersed himself into Marty. Immersed himself and hired private investigators and started digging. And this affected his wife, him and his wife's relationship, which she was just like, I'm out. You're fucking nuts. Our kid just got murdered, and you're on this personal vendetta. Yeah, women are, they're emotional. They just, couldn't deal. She tried to help him, but as best she could. But she left him. So Bob is all alone in his house, with his riches, doing everything he can to bring Marty to justice. Along comes Steve. Steve is doing pest control. Steve is a very inquisitive person and can talk people and find out just things. Just people just start telling him stuff. And Steve is overcome with just, oh my God, just grief and horror and rage. Just like Bob is from what happened to his son. And so Marty's gone. Marty's gone. He's been gone for almost a year. Steve and Bob are just going through this, this moment. And Steve says, "That's it. What can I do to help?" Steve used to do some bail bondsing. Used to do some bounty hunting. After his stint, Steve was also in the military. And been all over the world and did all kinds of things. Getting out, worked at a prison, and did some bail bondsing on the side, bounty hunting on the side, which, it's no big deal, really. It was easy. Just used to dealing with folks, and had often thought about, getting into some type of private investigation or fugitive recovery, stuff like that. But it's I don't know. It's hard to. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to do things of that nature, just because the mind doesn't let you, the heart doesn't let you. You're just kind of like, well, you know what? Maybe I should just live in peace, and not deal with that mess. So Steve agrees to help Marty, or to help Bob, and to bring Marty to justice. So Marty says, or Steve, God damn it, all these names, all these fake names, I can't keep them straight. Bob shows Steve everything. He says, look, this is what I got. Boom. Dossier. Boom. Pictures. Boom. Locations. Boom. Apparently, Marty had ran to a Indonesian country which is well known for its red light and blue light district. And a blue light district is like the gay and pedophile clubs. Speakeasies, dives, strip joints, whorehouses. Very appalling. Very appalling. Anyway, shit. It's already 15 minutes in. So, Bob says, look, I got $50,000 on it. Bring this guy to justice. It's yours, plus expenses. So Steve's like, okay, let's do this. Hell yeah. But I'm not going to kill him. Steve says, no, can't kill him. Can't do that. But you can't just grab somebody in another country, bound and gag them, and take them off, out of the country by airplane or boat or something, and turn him over to the authorities like, here you go. Look what I found. Can't do that. So the plan was, which Bob and Steve done some research and everything, and said, well, how about just drop them off at the American Embassy in Indonesia? Yeah, that could work. Yeah, a little note around his neck. So this is back in the early 2000s, just after 2002, 2003. It was still cool to travel the world, and Americans were pretty cool in other countries. So Steve takes off. Fat paycheck, or fat bank account, and traveler's checks, and all this stuff. Can't take any weapons with you. Can't take anything like that. So Steve just shows up in country, in the general area of where Bob said Marty was, and Steve gets a cool place to stay. Pays up front for a week. It's a hotel lodging, it's very basic lodging, with a restaurant / bar and sitting area outside. Most places had like a sitting area. There's millions of people in this place. Millions. They're everywhere. Indonesian, a mixture of Burmese and Thai, and some other people in there. It's amazing how it worked. Steve, being a very tall, tall man, white, big and strong, stuck out like a sore thumb. Steve liked to spend his days sitting in the outside area, drinking these lovely drinks made out of coconut milk, chai tea, and some kind of strong liquid. It was very good, very good. It's also where Steve got hooked on fermented fish head soup. Oh, yummy, good stuff. Anyway, the lodge owner, we're gonna call him Tam. Tam was a very, very interesting character. Tam was a older gentleman of Indonesian descent, but Tam was a veteran of the Vietnam War. He fought with the Americans and the Allies, and he had a whole wall of his exploits. It was great to see it. There was a picture of him, a young kid, young man with oversized helmet. I mean, Tam was probably, I don't know, almost 5 foot tall and maybe 120 pounds, but just strong and wiry and fast. I mean, Tam could literally, he had chickens in the back. He would grab you a chicken live, dismantle that chicken into the fryer onto your plate in less than 30 minutes. Damn. Chop, 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 boom, boom, boom. Sizzle fry. Here you go. Whatever you want. Oh, man. So, the spices and everything, it's just truly amazing. But Tam, with his picture, Steve will never forget it. Oversized helmet, GI helmet with the oversized flak jacket. And Tam is holding this M60, bigger than he is, on one hip, just going, yeah. So Tam would go gray man into villages and look for the Viet Cong, and he would pose as a migrant worker looking to work in the rice paddies and shit like that. And then when he would find the Viet Cong, he would go back and tell the GIs, yep, they got him, and they would go in and so Tam was really cool. Tam was really cool. So Tam and Steve, Steve was just chilling. He would walk around, he'd chill out. We would hang out by the bar, eat some food. And Tam knew well. He knew some good English. Tam could speak some English. And finally, he looks at Steve and goes, "Why are you here, my friend? Why are you here?" It's more like, "Why are you here, my friend?" Indonesian accent. It's kind of hard to, I can't. It's kind of like that. But why are you here, my friend? And Steve was like, Steve and Tam had built up a rapport over a few days, and Steve was like, thought of Tam as really cool. He had a family. He had a wife. Tam was definitely not a pedo sympathizer or a pedo. So he's like, Steve goes, "I'm looking for somebody." And Tam was like, "Oh, really? Who are you looking for, my friend? Maybe I can help." And so Steve shows him a picture. Boom. Tells him all about it. This guy is a pedophile. He raped and killed a kid, and he ran here. I'm here to bring him back to justice. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna. No, not gonna. Nope, none of that. Nope, not gonna do that. No." So, Tam lets me know. Well, first, he asked Steve a bunch of questions like, "Who are you, and what are you doing here, and what agency are you with?" And there's a lot of agencies. And he gives me the lay of the land and tells me all this and that, and his security over there, they hire folks, just regular folks, plain Jane, usually tough guys in the neighborhood, as a security force. The government is totally corrupt and in on everything. The police are corrupt. And they're all on their own fucking plan. You're more likely to be shooken down on a shakedown with a cop than you are anything else. So the cops are just fuck you. They're not existent. They're not there to help. And mind you, there's no guns anywhere. Nobody has a gun. If you have a gun, it's an old gun that they keep hiding. Nobody has guns, but knives and clubs. Everybody's got knives and clubs, and everybody uses knives and clubs. It's one of those places. Everybody's got a knife. Big knife or a machete. And the crime is crazy. Crime was crazy. So they had these security. They would hire these businesses would hire these security, and they would sit around, and they're little, Indonesian folks. But these guys took their job very seriously, and they would just kind of hang out, and they'd say, as soon as somebody started something, as soon as somebody grabbed something and tried to run, they'd go, yeah, chop them, cut them right there, and try to cut their arm off. And it was dealt with quickly. Boom, done. And they'd take them around back and whoop their ass, or possibly do more than that. But it was an interesting place, and so they had to fend for themselves, and they had to police their own. And these guys, these security, they started walking around me, getting close to me. I'm sitting at the bar, watching Tam, and Tam is talking, and I'm being surrounded by these guys, little guys, but they're all carrying knives. And he says, "This is my family." And over there, family. It's very strong. It's very strong. Everybody is a brother, a sister, a father, an uncle, and he says, "I can help you. We do not tolerate that here." He said that is a big problem that we face over there, and I can help you get this guy. And Steve is like, "Wow, okay, I can pay," and so yeah. Absolutely. Mind you, over there, American dollars were really, really good. Really good. You walk in with American money and they just roll out the red carpet for you, or they try to scam you. So you got to be careful of the scam. And so I made it I was like, I have to tell you that over there the scam is everything. Yeah. So my cat is doing something under the freaking refrigerator. Can you get it? Oh, shit. Okay, she's fine. She got her paw stuck under the refrigerator. Trying to grab something. You know, like the raccoon thing, shiny object, won't let go. Yeah. That's okay. So, Steve says, look, I know I know that you guys ain't trying to scam me, are you? I mean, I don't have any money on me, and there's no money on here, but I can go get it. But you know, if I can pay now, pay as we go, or I can pay half now, half later. And Tam is like, we really don't want to pay, but we'll accept it. And that's it. And security team, the neighborhood security. These guys were. It was impressive. They kind of looked at it. It wasn't a gang. They looked at themselves at like almost like a fraternal order that they had taken up in their local neighborhood. It was very interesting to see. And they took me. They had their own training grounds where they trained, where they had recruits that were training. They had people that wanted to join because the pay was kind of good. It was okay. You got paid to just sit around and watch. And every now and then you had to grab somebody and hack them up, beat them up. You know, make sure there was there was their loss prevention, if you will. So so it was really cool. It was really cool to see. They really like Steve, and obviously, what Father says goes. So, you know, Uncle Steve was brought into the family, and they were going to help out, and they were on board. Wow, they were on board. They were like, hell yeah. So one of the nephews, family, you know, takes Steve right to the blue light district, and over there, everybody's sitting around. There's shops open shops everywhere, and there's places you can just hang out and hide. And Steve and the nephew are just, the guide is they're hanging out and drinking some Coca-Colas across the street from, you know, the big Boom Boom Club, and it's amazing. These clubs, they sell boys. They sell boys. For the night, for the hour. No. It's very disturbing, very disgusting. They kind of advertise it, but they kind of don't. It's kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing, but there's big lights and it's horrendous. There's girls there too, maybe. It might be transgender girls. There was a lot of those too. But this area of the blue light district was primarily kids. The sale and distribution of kids. So they watch and Steve and the guide are just chilling. They see the guy. They see him. And that's it. That's it. ID'd. Yep, that's him. Guide, that's him. And guide's like, we're on it. And the guide in his little security deal found out exactly where he lived, found out exactly what his route was. Took probably a few days. Marty had been doing this for quite some time. And so they said, look, Steve cannot go and watch. If Steve does, then Marty is going to see it. And he's going to know the gig is up and he's going to be gone. You know? And so they watched Marty, and Marty had a plan. Marty had a schedule, but he also had little things that he would do. He would walk around. They found out where he lived. He lived in a little flat where, you know, he had his own little place, own little apartment, and he got his drugs delivered. They found out who the drug dealer was. They knew him. and Marty would eat his food there. He would hang out, drink his coffee, play on the internet, on the terrace, and then he would do his drugs. He would get his drugs, do his drugs, and then his night would begin. And he would walk. He would make a beehive to the blue light district. Was literally down the street from his house. But coming back, he would take this elaborate route through the back alleyways, and he would circle around 3 times. And he had these choke points. He would go down an alleyway and stop, turn around and stop and wait for a long period of time to make sure that nobody was coming. And so that was the nature of this evil, disgusting person. But he did have and at the end of the night, yeah, he would stop at the food vendor area, and get his food, finish it, and then he would start his elaborate exfil back to his apartment with his choke points and everything. What charity? So, my charity requires food. So, the plan was devised. And, food, yummy. I go crazy. So the plan was devised that Steve and the security team would, the neighborhood security would get a van. They had access to a van. It was a rickety ass van. It was like what kind of van is it? Like 80cc van, 3-speed, and it jerked when it went into gear, and it flat nose, white, rusted all to hell. It had a back door that opened up and a side door that slid open. And the idea was that they would just literally pull right up and snatch and grab Marty, throw him in the back, smack him with clubs, and bound and gag him, and take him to the local embassy. Sounded like a good plan. Steve was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll do it. Let's pay. They ran into some problems because the van wouldn't work, which worked out in the long run. So Steve has to buy the parts for the van, gets the van running. Hey, whatever. If that was the grift, hey, whatever. Steve gave him a van, whatever. Fine, okay. Had to get an oil pump for the old van, the old snatch and grab van. So this is about 2 weeks in, and they're thinking, okay, all right, this is the big weekend. That's when Marty would do his thing, and so the plan was like a Saturday night when Marty would do his thing, and that was his ritual. He was very ritualistic in that aspect, and so Steve is sitting outside, enjoying his Indonesian concoction. It's very refreshing, by the way. And under an umbrella, just chilling by himself. And this guy, black guy, high and tight, very, very, Ray-Bans or the shades, and he's got this big Cabana Boy shirt on. Almost like a Boogaloo shirt or Hawaiian shirt. Has a seat right in front of Steve. Steve is like, "Who are you?" And the black guy goes, "I'm from the FBI. We've been watching you. We know why you're here. We've been watching Mr. Marty for quite some time as well. Just that we can't do anything about it. And neither can you." Steve is like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm not here to hurt anybody. No, not at all. And they say, look, we know you're here, and we know you've got a plan, and we know that the locals are on board, and we can't stop what the locals do. But if anything happens to Marty, we're coming for you because we now know that you're going to do something. We don't like it, but that's the way it is. We will have to take you and put you on an airplane in handcuffs, bring you back to the United States of America, and trial you and put you in jail. And it would be federal. And it will not be good. You know, the FBI, they threaten. So Steve is like, this is very serious. He's like, well, I'm just going to level with you. We're not going to kill him or anything. We're going to just take him and drop him off at the embassy. He's like, what? He's like, you're an international bounty hunter? He starts laughing. He's like, come on. You guys, bullshit. Whatever, you're not. No, he's like, I know who you are. I looked at your file. You're nobody. You're just some dude. You know? Yeah, you got some military experience. And yeah, it looks like you did some bounty hunting here and there. But you're not an international bounty hunter. They don't exist. You don't have any jurisdiction here. You can't do anything about it. You're not just going to drop them off at the embassy and think everything is going to be cool. Because they're just going to look at him and they're not going to do anything about it. And the local government, the Indonesian government, is going to get involved, and they're just going to let him go. So that's not going to work. I was like, so what do we do? What do we do? How do we bring Marty to justice? And the FBI agent, he's like, you really want to do this, don't you? He's like, yeah. He's like, all right. Let me talk to you tomorrow morning. And he leaves. And, well, you know, Tam is watching. Security is watching. The FBI, they were watching. And, you know, the FBI agent, he was, you know, just there. And, of course, he walks off. And then everybody else that he was with turns around and walks off. So, you're like, oh, wow. The next morning, you know, Tam, and he was like, what was that? I was like, so Steve is like, I think the gig is up, man. But who knows? Who knows what happens? The FBI is, they said they want to meet tomorrow. Maybe they're going to take me in. This might be my last day. So I didn't bring much with me. Just y'all can have my stuff. I'm going to go ahead and pay up, you know, whatever I owe, and maybe tomorrow will be my last day. Tam was just, oh, no. You know, and Steve was like, it's the way it is, man. It's the long reach arm of the law. It's the way it is. You know, so Steve and Tam and security, they're just like, what the fuck, man? The gig is up already? And they were already talking about just going ahead and doing it. You know, but they were going to go the other routes. So, but because now they know the guy, now they know exactly everything about him. They know exactly where he lives, what his plans are, you know, what his routine is, and his rituals and all that, his drugs. And they were talking about, you know, spiking his drug, you know, getting with the drug dealer and spiking the drugs and killing him that way. And I was like, wow, you guys are just really dedicated here. So I was like, and Tam brought up a good point. He says, what if that's not the FBI? What if that's a scam? Because this does happen. There not only are the Americans here, but there's the Russians, there's the North Koreans, there's everybody's here. Everybody is here, and they're always looking to get into and getting in on the action, and you know, it's the grift and the scam is always, you know, part of it. That's how they fund their shit and how they gain their information. So I was like, okay. Steve is like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. All right, yeah, bring up a good point. So the next morning, Steve and the FBI agent meet again. And Steve is just like, wait a minute now. who are you? Who are you really? Are you really the FBI? Are you really from the government and here to help? He's like, and Steve is like, prove it to me. Prove to me that you are who you are. Because now you know everything about me. You know everything about my plan, and you know that, and you're sitting here threatening me and telling me that this is not going to work. So what the fuck? So the FBI agent's like, okay, fine. Pulls out his badge, shows his gun. I'm like, you got a gun? You can't have a gun here. The Phoebe is like, yeah, we legit here, bro. They're okay. So, FBI guy says, this is what you do. When you grab him, take him to this address. It's down a little street here. Knock on the door. Just throw him there. We'll take care of him. Really? Yep. We'll even give you some money. Really? You throw some money on the table, and there you go. It's it's Indonesian money. So I grab it. Yeah, cool. Deal. Done. And so the plan is to go. And but still the locals are still very apprehensive because they know something's up. They know they just know because that's their life. So they go to the location and they stake it out and they look at it for a while and they see what's going on, and it's literally a small little warehouse in a little business district there, where it's these guys kind of it's just a little building, but that portion of the building they never see anyone going in and out of. And I was like, huh? Yep. There's no doors. There's two or three doors. There's no windows. And, we don't see anybody coming out of there. And then one of their informants is like, yeah, because that whole building is interconnected. There's a interconnected hallway that goes inside all those buildings and empties out like 2 or 3 blocks away. I'm like, oh. So they look in there, and sure enough, that's where the activity is coming in and out of. Everybody in that whole place. And they see the Americans going in and out of there. And they see the vehicles. And there's a guard, chilling. And he's got the same little Combat Boy shirt on and the freaking khakis. And, and he's printing. He's carrying. And somebody said, yeah, that's where the Americans stay. That's where the Americans have their little thing. That's where they do their stuff. And people go in there and they don't come out. The only thing that comes out of there is boxes and people carrying boxes. I'm like, shit, what is this, a chop shop? So like, okay, all right, it's legit then. So things a go. So just before Marty gets up, Steve and 4 of the security the security group goes in the van, parks right on the corner. There's a corner. They park facing, park there, and there's a corner here. And so Marty comes walking and turns the corner and goes right up that street, and he goes right up into the blue light district. That van is sitting there. And they set the van there the night prior. Just set it there. They just parked it there so that Marty would walk by it. Okay, it's a van. What the fuck? But he noticed the van and it just sat there. And so, and Marty would go back and forth, and Marty actually did check it out a few times. He walked around and he would do his thing. He walked across the street, so he changed up his thing, his pattern, just to look at the van. But the van there was nobody in it. There was, but the security was watching him. The lookouts were watching him. The cousins, the nephews, and so on the night that Saturday night when Marty is full of his drugs and himself, and he's ready to hit the club, walks down the street, turns the corner, and passes the van. As soon as he passes the van, the doors open up on the van, and Steve and his group snatch and grab, boom, throw him to the ground, face first, in the smelly back of the van, and boom, 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 knock him out, bound and gagged, and put a bag over his head. Not much struggle at all. And everybody's like, all right, let's go. And the van pulls off and goes to the warehouse, knocks on the door, pull right up to the door, slides the van open. Steve gets out, knocks on the door. A door opens, and here is this heavily armed guy, freaking kitted up, blacked out. He's got his black mask on, his black goggles, gloves, everything, helmet, and a freaking M4 just sitting right there. Just, boom. He goes, and he says, "Is that the guy?" Steve says, "Yep, this is Marty." Threw him onto the pavement, and from out of the darkness comes two other guys, snatch Marty, pull him into the darkness. The guy says, "Thanks," closes the door. Okay. So the van drives off and goes back home, and things are kind of tense now. They're like, "Well, that was easy." Shit. That was easy as hell. Fuck. So Steve and everybody goes back to Tam's place. And, it's late night, so everybody goes home, goes to bed. The next day, when Steve wakes up, Steve is woken up by this major freaking commotion going on outside. Freaking, these people yelling, and there's people are honking their zoomed-up horns, these scooters are beep, 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 and people are chanting, and there's Steve goes downstairs, and Tam, the whole place is packed with people, just packed with people. And as soon as Steve walks down, everybody's like, "Hey! I don't know what they're saying, but it was a celebration. Absolute nuts celebration. Food and wine and liquor and and dancing. It was a great time, and it went on all day long. There was thousands of people. The whole neighborhood showed up. Everybody in this local area showed up and was having a freaking celebration. There were banners, they were marching, there was fireworks going off. It was crazy. Steve is blown away. And I'm like, Tam, I can't do this. Steve is like, "I can't do this. You can't. No, I gotta go. I mean, job here's done, and it's time for Steve to get the fuck out of town. You know what I'm saying? Diddy Mound, motherfucker. There might be some shit going down." He's like, "No." Tam is like, "No, you are safe. Uncle Steve is safe here." And everybody's patting Steve on the back, and girls are dancing. it's great. They're doing this thing, they're dancing, and oh man, it's great. They're throwing flower petals. It was nuts. They had the ding, the music was going crazy. Somebody brought a pig. Oh man, it was a nut crazy fucking party in the streets. People would drive by, and as soon as they drive by, they just start honking their horn in this kind of rhythmic fashion. Oh my god! And Steve left. Before Steve left, Tam and Steve were like, "Hey, we got to keep in touch." Yeah. Steve gave a lot of money to Tam. Almost, I think it was like throughout the course, probably about $5,000 or $6,000. But Tam was like, no. But he also Steve gave him the money that the FBI gave him to Tam and everything, and the security force really took up the job, and they started really weeding that stuff out and they really stepped their game up. They started getting more and more gear. They had more gear. They all had walkie-talkies now, little walkie-talkies. They still kept their incognito, their gray man, if you will. They went from hatchets to billy clubs, like these little fucking clubs. They would, but they really stepped. They got some handcuffs and zip ties, and they started doing that. But yeah, crazy story, man. Crazy story. Throughout the years, Steve and Tam, kept in touch. Then something happened in the country, and Tam stopped writing it. It's possible Tam might have died, but there was a lot of social unrest going on in that area. But it created such a stir that the locals really pushed hard against the local government to clean that shit up and to keep it out of their fucking neighborhoods. And so anybody that did anything with that area was blackballed and blacklisted, and they just didn't deal with them. Sometimes it was a violent thing. But it wasn't. They were fed up. The people were fed up, and the government actually started to kind of like they made this like divide, like red light, blue light, stay the fuck over there. Don't come over here, or you'll be arrested. The locals will fuck you up, and we will take your ass and arrest you and stuff. Anyway, it was interesting. It was interesting to hear for Steve, and Steve came home and met with Bob. And Bob had heard the news from the FBI that Marty had been caught, and there was a trial date to be set, and that his presence was requested. He could face the guy finally and get justice. And that Mr. Marty, the case against Mr. Marty was amazingly concrete, and he was going to prison, hard prison time for a long, long time. Marty is probably still in prison, if he hasn't already died in prison. Steve got $50,000 plus expenses, which came out to. Steve had given $5,000, $7,000 to Tam and the group, which they were blown away. They were like, "What the fuck? That's a lot of money." But it was just kind of given because the food and the drink and the lodging, it really wasn't that much, but in of course the van and the use of the security group. So $5,000-$7,000, yeah, I mean it helped out a lot. And so Bob reimbursed that, plus he kicked up another $5,000 on top of that, so it's 50, 60, 60 something. 62, 63. Anyway. Yeah. And so, wow. Steve was like, wow. Very grateful. Bob was extremely grateful. He literally, Steve said that he fell down on the floor in a fit of crying, laughter, thank you Jesus, thank you Lord kind of thing going on, and like he had a very ecstatic breakdown, and it was Steve said it was amazing to watch. So that is